What up? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And look at you. You done stumbled upon little OTB Saints, where we bring you all the latest black and gold coverage.
Who are the Saints going to draft? Who's going to be their quarterback? What does the salary cap look like? All that information and more.
Hope you enjoy it. Like, subscribe. Nick on every Tuesday. I love Nick and Mike's work when it comes to New Orleans Saints. And they lay out a pretty clear set of guiding philosophies that the New Orleans Saints have operated with under Mickey Loomis when it comes to the NFL draft. And these are not going to sound crazy if you are a fan of the Saints and you follow the team. One of them would be they don't trade down. They just don't do it. At a time where you saw many other teams try to find as many opportunities as they could to trade down, just to amass resources, throw guys against the wall, and see what sticks. The Saints believe much more in what you could say is the second part of the philosophy. They target players and then they go after them. The Saints, and it feels a bit almost hubristic to me, Jake, a bit prideful.
The same thing. Hubristic.
In that if you're someone who believes in trading up to this thing that the Saints does, basically what you're telling me is, no, our scouting is rock solid and we know who's going to be good. Which again, I say is prideful because we all know that, if anything, the scouting science is incredibly inexact. And so, like, from an outsider perspective, I always felt that, well, why don't we diversify the portfolio, take a little risk away from the situation by not having all of our eggs in one basket? But the Saints tend to think, no. We know when we've identified a guy that we want, and we're going to go get them. And their third guiding philosophy would also be kind of speaking into that willingness to trade up, which is they always prefer an asset now over an asset later. And I think that this all makes sense in a world where you have Drew Brees. In a world where you have your franchise quarterback figured out, that can make up for so much bad, that can keep you relevant, that can give you the ability to miss on some of these decisions and not feel it as badly as you would otherwise, this makes sense. But when you don't have that guy, when you have so many different clear deficiencies, like, these Saints must be willing to adjust and or completely move away from these philosophies.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is their window was open for so long. And NFL windows just don't stay open for that long.
No.
And theirs was for like 2 decades. Just does not happen. And so for them, they always felt like they were one away. Let me get this player. Yep. Because our team is already set. We've got a great group of veterans. We've got enough rookies, enough young talent. We just need that one player to change the game. And that's why that sometimes you try to be the smartest guy in the room and get a Marcus Davenport or a Payton Turner or somebody that's off the beaten path, right? Because you feel like you're that one guy away that nobody else is really, knowing about, like you feel like you know about that player, whatever it might be. And so that's why they haven't, in my opinion, traded back ever, is because the roster always dictated that they were one player away and they could make a move and they didn't need all the draft assets, even though really when you look at, one of the drafts they had, what was it, 2017, where they hit on like so many different.
No, they've had 2 golden drafts. 17 was one of them. And
right.
Then it's 06 when they get Colston and everybody. That was the other. That was your Streef, Colston.
I think it would have been 06.
That was the other golden draft. And the tail on those drafts is pretty incredible.
So when you've actually, done it right, you've drafted well, like that's actually been a core of your team. But again, where their roster was, and credit to them for being in that window for 2 decades. Yep. Again, that just doesn't happen. But I think that led to them always figuring, you know what, I think we're one player away. And so you make all those moves. And now that you're clearly not in that window is not open like it once was for 2 decades. Like, you have to change your philosophy. You have to change your mindset when it comes to the draft. But I think they're so stuck in their ways because it worked for them for so long, and that's the way that they kind of viewed the draft, that I don't think they can go back, because in their minds and the moves that they're making, they're telling you they think they're still in that window. Bringing in a Derek Carr, bringing in people that were around him in the Raiders organization to try to make him as comfortable as possible. They feel like they're in there. So that reason,
I think that there's a little bit of this offseason, Jake, where maybe you can start to see the first inklings of, okay, we need to start being a bit more future conscious. Because you've seen them for the first time not go all in on exploiting the cap and pushing costs down the road. Like, they're eating a couple contracts. They're There's been a not a full reset, but kind of a soft launch reset on some portions of the cap.
Pop-up shop reset?
Now it's tough, right? Because it's kind of like it's a bit of trying to have your feet in both areas, right? You're trying to kind of have your cake and eat it too. Like you're still saying, okay, we still want to be like maybe playoff relevant, but we also recognize that we do have to be a bit more future oriented in terms of how we're thinking and building the team. And so I would hope that when it comes to the draft, Jake, it's not a soft reset and it's a full-on recalibration of how we're doing this. Like we talked about it a couple days ago and we were all agreed, but like there is 0% chance in hell they should trade up in the first round. I don't give a damn what the situation is. You need to pick at 14. You need to pick at 45. If you want to talk about packaging some of those fifth rounders, okay. But even then, what I get worried about is like giving up like a second round pick next year for a third round pick this year, which is a hypothetical that Nick gets into. And it's like, you feel like it matters more because it's now, but honestly, you're just giving up a third for a second, right? Just a calendar year is different, but like that's bad math. You don't want to do that. So no, I want the Saints to stay pat, draft where they're at, and start to plan for the future.
Yeah, they need younger assets on this roster. I fully believe teams are built. The best teams are built through the draft. When you look across the NFL, when you look at the Chiefs, when you look at the 49ers, like for the most part, those teams have been built through the draft. Now they do a really nice job of identifying free agents here and there, and they might make a splash. They might bring a player in. But just think about where those teams are, and they've been I would say the most consistent teams in the NFC and AFC. Well, they're built through the draft. It's not to say that you can't sign free agents, but think about the teams that always sign free agents: the Commanders, the Cowboys, teams like that, and they don't have postseason success.
We'll know here in a couple of days what this front office is thinking. Wow, just amazing black and gold takes right there, Jake.
I don't think I've ever heard any takes that are better than the two guys that just gave you that take.
And you can keep getting them by going ahead and liking, subscribing, ringing the bell to get notifications when we post. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next OTB Saints.